What is up, guys? Tonight I have decided to reappear here on the channel and prove to you guys that I'm still alive and mostly well. There's been a lot of stuff happening, needless to say, and what gets to me is how all of a sudden stuff just changes when it comes to the political spectrum, the weather, health, disease, viruses. And I thought, well, why the heck not create a stream in which I guess I can look at what's trending and perhaps let you guys know how I feel about certain things or how certain things are affecting me and whatnot. And it's been particularly tough for me to put my mind together on this one, given how much info there is out there. And I guess that is partly the curse of living in an age when you have so much access to so much information, different sources of information, different kinds of information, and also the tone in which some of this info is delivered, and on top of that, people's interpretations of the sources of this material. And I see you, Philip. I see you, JP. Good to see you guys. I'm going to stream a little bit in the dark because I just could not get my phone to cooperate and not lean over. And also, I'm not in the mood to really deal with light. So I just want to be in the dark and go easier on my eyes. And also, since it's nighttime, I don't want to be exposed to so much brightness. In case you wondered why there is no picture. So, of course, first and foremost, the top thing that's trending all over is the coronavirus. And right now, I am seeing more than 94,000 cases have been confirmed worldwide, says the World Health Organization. And apparently, there have been more than 3,200 fatalities. And it says Chinese scientists found coronavirus has two strands. South Korea has reported 35 deaths. Italy has closed all schools until March 15th. The US has reported 11 deaths. Information from the World Health Organization and health agencies. This is also info from journalists and health experts, epidemiologists, and more. I have heard some crazy things. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there are people out there who say that they believe that this disease was, in a sense, created for political reasons, primarily, of course, economical reasons. That's usually what drives politics anyway. But the so called theory, if we can call it that, went something along the lines of, oh, they want to do this so that the market collapses, and that way they can introduce a different way of conducting business. You know how there's the talks about all this crypto stuff that's supposed to launch at some point and how it's going to be a big deal and whatnot. Well, there's people out there who believe that this was, in a sense, created. And I'm thinking, look, as an American, I don't trust the government. I hate to say it. But at the same time, I want to believe that as humans, we're not that advanced to where we can create diseases like that. I think we can reawaken diseases and worsen some by not taking certain precautions, such as say, getting vaccinated when you're a kid. Maybe you're by you catching this disease, whatever disease it may be, first of all, you're probably going to die because most diseases can be considered eradicated that we used to struggle with maybe centuries ago, and now they're really not a thing because there is vaccines. Well, let's say that somehow your whole childhood without being vaccinated, and then suddenly you catch something, and this thing just evolves. That's the thing about disease. It just learns how to evolve and adapt to where it becomes resistant to any medications, whatever it is that we create. And I believe in that stuff in the same manner that I believe that we adapt to our environment and learn to conquer it. What's to keep disease from learning to do the same thing? Oh, my host has a good defense against me? Well, I need to step up my game, to put it simply. I really want to say that it is possible that there's a lot that's being withheld from the public about what, on a scientific level, we are capable of doing, especially when it comes to disease. But maybe it is my limited comprehension on it that makes me want to believe that I'm giving humans too much credit on what they can do and how they can manipulate disease to where you can make this thing spread and kill certain people or affect certain regions in the planet. I really don't know what to believe. I do think that there's evil lurking out there, so it wouldn't surprise me to hear that there's been experimentation on that. If we were able to clone some creature, then why would we not be able to create certain diseases? Maybe not create diseases from scratch, but turn some into like biological weapons. Anything can happen. I think that there's definitely a lot that's being withheld from the public. But when it comes to that one, I need evidence that humans are not capable of doing that. And I also need evidence that we are capable of doing that. So let's say that I'll remain neutral on that matter. Hearing what you have to say is just as important as seeing you. Don't listen to the conspiracy nonsense. Coronavirus came from animals, humans eating diseased animals, nothing more. Yeah, yeah, that is what I have kept track of. That's what I have read officially. I have read so many. Hey, Jimmy, good to see you. I have read so many. What do you call it? Health experts debunking certain myths, and it definitely went over that. And honestly, conspiracy theories are fun to indulge in, but only for entertainment purposes. What I don't like about it is that this has generated unnecessary panic on certain circumstances. Not everyone knows how to interpret information, as I was mentioning earlier. And I feel like that is where the real danger lurks, because people in out of misinformation, ignorance, they may enter a panic and say stockpiling on medicine and stockpiling on food when that's not necessary. And then let's say that everything reverts to normal in a relatively short period of time. Now you have indebted yourself if you're, let's say, that you made a sacrifice to stockpile on stuff. Now you made this sacrifice, you're going to financially affect yourself, and on top of that, you may need to you end up discarding some of the stuff because it just expires on you. You know, food has a time limit. And just like those places that you can shop at with memberships like Costco and Sam's, I never participate in that stuff because I think it's pretty silly for me to have to pay a membership on top of shopping there. But I think that stockpiling is something that should be done if you have a legitimate business or something, or if you have a family of like 8 or 12 people. I don't know. I've never had a family that big, but I just cannot imagine a situation in which you need to enter that kind of a panic unless we're like on a full blown war or have a storm that promises to linger for like a month or so, something crazy. So that's what I don't like. People will start doing stupid things, making stupid decisions without thinking about the long term consequences, just because they feel they're getting ready to survive something cataclysmic. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But then again, me personally, on a mental level, I always fear that I am at a disadvantage when it comes to truly grasping what the effects of something might be, just because I have been privileged and a little bit cursed as well, if I think about it critically, of living in a time that's been pretty peaceful, in a time where I have not really known real necessity. And sometimes I wonder, what would I do if I found myself in a situation like, say, my grandparents or great grandparents did, when they experienced wars and the difficulties associated with that. So, in a sense, I'm grateful that I'm not worrying about that. Hopefully, I'll never have to worry about that, but you just never know. But at the same time, I feel like mentally, it is not preparing me for what my life as a human that has needs could be. And I wonder if I would be able to react to it in a way that is appropriate to ensure my survival and the safety of those around me. See what I mean? So, what can I say? I don't want to sound like, oh my god, I'm taking this too seriously or not seriously enough, but I like to highlight that my opinion is going to have certain limitations based on my experience and that time period that I have been living in, which has been a pretty peaceful one. But my biggest fear has been that I keep hearing, especially from older folks, that, which makes sense, life as I know it now is not going to be this way forever. And what they mean is that, say, another kind of war may happen, which is happening. I mean, we have Cold Wars, we have cyber wars, we have stuff that our, let's say, previous generations did not have to worry about. They never even considered such a thing might be a thing. So how would they know to worry about this? But especially from a religious point of view, some people have said, the world as you know it now, something really bad is going to happen that's going to have to like reset humanity. And I'm like, okay, it makes sense, but at the same time, what could it be? And then sometimes, because of social media and how much information we have in our hands, I wouldn't know of this disease going around if it weren't for, say, my phone, where I get all of my info from. And of course, my colleagues are on top of this stuff. They would have said something, but they also know this stuff because they have access to the same info that I have. But I'm thinking, what if I didn't have access to all this information? How much about this epidemic, pandemic, whatever level it's at now, would I know about? Probably nothing. And of course, when you are ignorant, you tend to just not be worried about much. See what I mean? But I like to hear what people have to say, but some stuff, unless I get confirmation from reliable sources, which I don't like to discriminate and be like, nah, I only listen to the doctors. I only listen to politicians. I only listen to the World Health Organization on this matter, for instance. I'm not going to trust the word of my mother, just to name someone random. No, nothing like that. You have a right to express yourself to me, and I will decide what to do with that info. And most of the time, people don't mean any harm, people mean well. So that makes it even more complicated, if that makes sense. I'm gonna have a sip of some water before I start coughing. Let's see, what are you guys saying? Hello, Jordan. I'm doing okay. Not too bad. I'm still struggling from the same allergies and whatnot that I've had for the past 2 years. But nah, I'm feeling pretty good. I hope you are. Illuminati are doing this, everything, this pop up out of nowhere. Illuminati putting bed bugs and this viruses all over the world. Um, that intrigued me. This thing came out of nowhere. But when we say something comes out of nowhere, what does that really mean? Does it mean that it's getting a lot of coverage? Does it mean that this is truly a newfound thing? Or does it mean that it's something that's been there? But because it has begun to affect such a huge number of people and it has propagated with so much haste, then we're thinking, okay, there has to be some kind of conspiracy involved. I honestly do not know what to tell you. I do think, once again, that there's a lot of evil out there. You just never know. And for instance, I deem as evil the people who are extremely sick and they show up to the grocery store and they touch everything that is fresh, like especially the produce section. Don't be that monster. Be mindful. Try to come into as least contact with product as possible. And of course, at home, we need to take our precautions anyway and clean the mess out of everything. But I feel like some people really do this deliberately. How do you not have a sense of what's safe and clean and sanitary and why this is important? But then when I judge the person by their profile, I realize that this tends to be older people, and I feel like older people were not, what can I say? They were not as aware or educated from an earlier age what taking these steps mean. Like, I will never forget this older lady who, maybe I told you guys the story, but I couldn't believe that this lady did not know that a green pepper does not get any greener. It goes from green to yellow. Now, what would an older person know about how disease manifests if they never knew back then what caused disease and what the preventive measures are? This is an this is a person who grew into being an adult in the modern world where we have better knowledge about this. But this person never had an opportunity to be raised with those habits, and now this person is a broken adult. So is that old person who shows up to the store and messes with product all around, are they really that evil, or are they really just not aware? Or do they really not give a fuck? It could be that. So you guys let me know what you think. I know it may be difficult to like arrive at a absolutely conclusive answer, but I would like to hear what you guys have to say on that one. But I'm not saying that this is exclusively old people who behave like this, but more often than not, that's what I observe and what my peers share that they have observed. Um, God, see everything, the world is ending. Why is this advertised as some possible apocalyptic event? They're being so dramatic about it, yet again causing fear and panic. On average, about 35,000 people die every year in the US from the flu. Yes, that is something that my colleagues and I were discussing. We're tripping over this one disease, maybe because if I remember right, this particular strand that doesn't immediately have an absolute cure, whereas the flu, we have preventive measures, we have a vaccine for it, and we also have a treatment method that is highly effective. And another intriguing thing was that it seems to be the older people who are succumbing to this thing, and like young people aren't really being impacted by it much. I'm not saying they cannot, but I cannot say I have heard of a child dying from this thing, so that's interesting to note. And children are supposed to have relatively compromised immune systems, just like older people and pregnant women. So I really think that this is catching our attention because it's a different strand or something. I think that's what it is. But yeah, you good point. I mean, the flu, which is something that we have somewhat conquered for a good while, and that's still claiming lives at a high rate. I think that if we have more than 100 people dying, that's bad. But then again, what kind of complications from the flu emerged? Do people die just from the flu, or do you die because your flu turned into a pneumonia? Do you die because your flu kept you from eating or walking? Or, what happens? Dehydrated you. What happens? But yeah, it doesn't hurt to explore it. Um, but they never say anything about that. Biggest fear coming home, not being able to touch, kiss the one that you love. Tell me about it. The Bible says the rapture will come, means God will save us danger in this evil world, and that's when Satan comes to earth from Russia. It's all in the Bible, the way the world is getting worse. I hope you feel better. I still got sinus a little bit. Yeah, that's what is affecting me pretty much. Better, I know what you meant. I meant 25,000, not 35,000, still a huge number. Yeah, definitely. Anything above 1,000 is definitely alarming. But to me, shoot, 100 seems to be the magic number for me. Because 100 people doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of the globe, but it's a lot of people. I couldn't fit 100 people in my little apartment. So that's a lot of people. Um, I feel sorry for Chinese people and the rest of the world experiencing this now. The Bible does not say we'll be raptured out before things get bad. Sorry, it just doesn't teach that. They got a movie about this before all this happened. The Bible tells everything about Jesus and the devil. The rapture is coming, the signs Jesus are showing. I have been prepped for a long time now, have plenty of canned and dried food and water, plus various equipment and meds I might need should things suddenly go downhill. I don't live in panic or fear. It's just wise to be prepared. Yeah, I personally, no matter what's happening, I don't like to let the fear get to me. I feel like it makes life darker living in fear and panic. But of course, should the recommendation be there, that's when I'll take action. But I often find it that when I worry about when I worry about something, not a damn thing happens. I'm not saying that I will be exempt from this mess, but what can I say? Just like the let's call it the authorities are saying, don't panic, take your preventive measures, and stay tuned to reliable sources, that is. The Rothschild have more than zillions of dollars do any evil thing they want. Jordan, yes, it does tell us about Jesus, but he himself that told us what signs to watch for and that after all those signs, then he would return, not before. Read Matthew 24. The Bible is real. I'm not living in fear. Just kill the truth, and people can get killed before the virus came along. Relax, Jordan. This is not the apocalypse. um, let's see. Let me see what else is here. Containment is still a top world priority. Yeah, the quarantine aspect of this has captivated me. The first country I saw that was really, besides China, of course, was Italy. I was seeing that one trend about all the schools that are closed and people wearing masks everywhere, and most places are actually deserted now by now. But that had me tripping because I cannot say I have ever experienced a time in which I had to be geared up like that. And traveling, don't even get me started about that. In the same manner that it's cool that we have such ease to go around the globe, evil stuff like diseases also have it easy to like travel around. Earthquakes, wild weathers, blood moon. This kind of stuff is the stuff I tend to pay attention to, so now I am being vocal. The Bible is real. Of course, it's real. I believe in it. I personally believe in it too, although I wish I read it more actively. But I really got discouraged when I was in like sixth grade and I tried reading it, and I was like, I'm reading this in perfect English, and I don't understand a damn thing it says because of the way that it has the old way of phrasing things. And I was like, Ma, why is it that this doesn't make any sense? And then she would be like, oh, well, you gotta understand that this is an ancient book. So the vocabulary, that's how people talked back then. And I'm like, I don't know why I think you're just tripping me. You want to call me stupid, but you're not calling me stupid. But one day, I will figure that out. Let's see, what else do I find here? The new coronavirus has killed about 3.4% of confirmed cases globally, making it deadlier than the flu but still containable. I wonder what life as a quarantined person must be like. I guess you have to be all covered up. You're just in a room alone. Do you have a hospital room to yourself? Oh God, let's discuss that. I think part of the dangers about being in the United States with this thing going around is that a lot of people, even if you have symptoms of something that's about to knock you out, you tend to skip the doctor, especially if you're in a situation where your insurance sucks and you just are not drowning in money, right? So I'm thinking, how many cases will there be in which this person could have been perfectly fine, perfectly saved, but they were in so much fear and reluctance to go to the doctor that the situation got worse before it got better. And you treated this like the regular flu that you tend to ride out every year and you survive it and yay. But it appears that it seems to be covered by certain insurances. But I also read something about how it's supposed to cost like $3,000 or something to get checked. Was that true or was that a hoax? Do any of you guys know? Did any of you guys even hear that at all? I want to say, being in this country, as terrible as our healthcare system is, I think it's true because I want to believe everything bad about, the system. But but I don't know. I don't want to spread lies here, so you guys let me know. But I did read that depending where you live and the kind of insurance that you have, the test there shouldn't be a fee for that. But of course, don't quote me on that. It varies, of course. And even if you are showing certain symptoms, you are being encouraged from doing an online check-in as opposed to visiting the clinic for obvious reasons. Like, you don't want to come into contact with everybody else who may not even be in the clinic due to those kinds of symptoms. But I also think that's wild. Like, I think conventional medicine and ways of checking up a patient shouldn't be altered with, but maybe this is the more, what can I say, executable way of going about it. But I don't think I would do that. I'm like, no, I want you to see me. What happened to me being able to be examined by a human who takes all the precautions? Like, you wear your little gloves, you wear your little scrubs, and you wear your mask and hats and everything. But, but anyway, I don't know. I don't even know what to think anymore sometimes. Zambri, how about the bed bugs too? I don't have none, but the bed bugs are all over the world and the virus are the worst. Old people should know better. One of the worst disease outbreaks in known history was the Spanish flu in 1918. I remember hearing about that. Anywhere from 15 million to 100 million died from it. One fourth of the world population at the time. For sure. For sure. Let's see. China's custom authority says 75 international arrivals into the country have tested positive for the novel novel coronavirus. Oh shit! And of course, one of the lesser fun aspects of it, the suckier aspects of it, is how, of course, there's people who are going to start generalizing things because of the region it started. Some people might say, "Oh, look at that! Are you really shocked about this happening over there in Asia? This originating over there in Asia because of their traditions, customs, and the way that their markets are set up, or something?" I never really look at it that way. I always think of it as, "Hey, it just happened." Disease is something that to me is kind of a lottery. You have a chance of getting it, but you also have many chances to avoid it. And you just never know where something is lurking and when. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that this damages my perception of that region of the world at all. Not at all. A 95-year-old woman who died in Sydney in in a Sydney hospital on Tuesday night has been confirmed to have had coronavirus. Once again, an older person. Let's see. Updates from Iran and the Middle East. More than 580 cases. Iraq reported its first death. Now, on the plus side, the cool thing about something like this happening is I really like seeing and reading about how organizations globally tend to unite. Like all this data is getting compiled and information being bounced off and shared. I really like that cooperation from multiple nations. Yep. Okay, let me catch up with the comments and then we'll move to something else. Yes, that's a good point, Zem. It's often the old and already sick who die from the flu. That's sad, and the Bible tells everything we are living in the end of times. I'm not worried about the virus because it's extra headache. Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe that the symptoms of us being in the end of times are there. I have heard about it. I have looked up some aspects of it. I have asked my mom and some other folks who are religiously inclined. And when I see situations like this, I'm like, disease, war, famine, crazy weather, the symptoms seem to be there. But at the same time, I don't like to get too carried away with that because war has always existed. Storms have always existed. Disease has always existed. And let's not forget the good old bubonic plague, like that nearly wiped out Europe. So we were able to get over that. But I'm not saying that there isn't something that can take us all out. I mean, what do we know about the planet's history? We only know a relative small amount of the history from what we believe the earth to be in age, you know? Okay, let's see. Airport workers say they lacked gloves to clean planes from China. Terrified about the coronavirus outbreak, one airline worker refused her supervisor's order to clean a plane when it arrived from China at LAX. The worker said she was given no gloves or a mask before being told to wipe down the plane's interior. Gee, it almost sounds like they really want for more people to contract this thing. Airline and airport workers say they have been forced to choose between their jobs and possibly being exposed to the coronavirus. Now, how long can the coronavirus live? Does it actually live in a host or can it just live sitting around? You know how some diseases tend to not really live for a long time if they're out in the open air or if they're exposed to like certain temperatures. They're not archaebacteria. Those are the extremists. But if washing your hands can do the job, then is it actually killing the virus or just sliding it off your skin? I'm pretty sure it's killing it, probably because it's sensitive to temperature. Let's see. Snowing in Africa 3 years ago. It's crazy. China is the big country, billions of people's lives there. That's a nightmare. The English Standard Version is a much easier to understand version of the Bible. I have considered it, but I get told so much by people. Do not stray away from the King James Version, the King James Version, this and that. And I'm like, okay, is it really that bad to get it from a secondary source? Because, I mean, just how many gloss overs has this book not gotten? What was the real book like? That's what I want to know. And besides, it's in a language that it's not supposed to be in. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just here in my ignorance. I am a learner of everything. But just question the crap out of everything. That's what I'm here for. Let's see. With the outbreak claiming more than 3,000 lives around the globe, the risk of being infected is on everybody's mind. Let's see. Gomez said they were ordered to clean inbound American airline planes without adequate training or equipment. The workers said their supervisors occasionally provided them with gloves, but other times urged them to remove the gloves from the galleys of the planes for use by flight attendants. Huh. And I bet you if someone were to, well, clearly it has been said if it made it to the news, but this is the type of thing that makes me believe that whistleblowers deserve to have protection because I would definitely be like, heck no, how about you clean this if you don't want to supply me with the proper gear? It's a health thing. And I think these supervisors have the guts to say that because flight attendants, for instance, they only get paid while the plane is flying, while it's pretty much while the door is closed, I think. And if you're on the ground, I think they don't get paid at all, ever, for no circumstances. And I think that's plain wrong because that is your time that's being used. You expect to have a plane cleaned and inspected and orderly, and you're only paying this person while the plane is airborne? Why? I never really have known why that is the case. But if I'm wearing your uniform, I think that at that time I am representing you. And I also think that, say, while at the terminal, if a passenger comes over to me and asks me questions and I assist them, I am helping you make money, possibly, by contributing my customer service. Why is that considered me being off the clock? Especially if I'm using your uniform. I think that's just messed up. But But definitely, I would have been one of those people to refuse because you cannot play with my safety. Like, not at all. Not at all. The Old Testament in the Hebrew has remained virtually unchanged for thousands of years. In the Hebrew language, the thing about it is that I always feel that if you try to take something from another language and you try to translate it, can you really grasp what it's like to think like a person who speaks the language that's not your maternal language? Like, I'll never forget when I was trying to learn French, and my French teacher kept saying and saying and saying, "You don't say, I'm hungry. You say, I have hunger." It makes sense. It doesn't change the context, it doesn't change the meaning. It's just expressed a little differently. But I'm pretty sure that thinking in the French language will be different from thinking in the English language. And it's not necessarily a limitation of the cultures being different. Culture, uh, well, language is a vital part of a culture. But I think that if you are born into a specific culture and that's all you know, and that's the thing that gets engraved to you, I don't think that you can be raised as a multicultural child. Like, sure, this child will have a little bit of stuff from the Pacific, stuff from Africa, stuff from Europe, and the both of the Americas. I think that is insane. That would be a lot of investment to do on a child. But but sometimes I think what's to keep someone who knew Hebrew and somehow knew English, and you had this person who could be a perfect translator, but that individual's interpretation of something may have been altered, may be different, and therefore that contributed to an alteration of the message that's present in the book. And I wish I could think of an example on the fly, but to me, when I'm at work, sometimes I interpret instructions differently from two other people. And those two other people, amongst themselves, they understood instructions differently. It could all be because of one little word or one little phrase. So, are we really certain that the Bible hasn't seen that many changes? I don't know. I like to believe that anything is possible. The contamination of the message is possible, especially if you don't know the origin of where something is coming from. Can you really trace back to the person who wrote that originally? Maybe not. It's like food. Can you really trace its origin at first glance? Definitely not. Zamri, please be careful about the virus and stay safe and others. And probably 500 other older people died of flu today, too. And nope, not really. Well, I will always believe that any written material can have room for alterations. I'm not saying that the message itself will lose its meaning. I just think that the way it's delivered will definitely change. And probably it is to adapt to the times and the comprehension as it happens. Like the modern person definitely doesn't develop on a mental level at the same rate as a person from like the early 1900s. Big difference. Let's see. Nothing else here that's remarkable. Let's see. The Wuhan shake, elbow bumps, and other alternative greetings pick up momentum as coronavirus spreads. As health officials warn against shaking hands and coming in close contact to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, it has resulted in some new and creative greetings. And they have some videos going on here about what people are doing and practicing. As a medical professional, the elbow bump is the friendliest, easiest, but still hygienic way to greet someone and was advocated by public health officials during Ebola outbreaks in Africa, as demonstrated it's difficult to lick your elbows. True, the main, what can I say, point about this has been that it's the fluids in a person that carry the disease or something. Hmm. The Wuhan Shake. Oh, the Wuhan Shake is pretty much you tapping the other person's foot, but you agree on it. Like you, as opposed to reaching for your hand to shake it, you reach your foot and pretty much tap your feet. That's neat. I mean, I cannot say that can replace the joy and comfort that skin to skin contact brings, but given the circumstances, I ain't here to judge. Interesting. That seems to be the end of that. Let's see what else is going on. 3 hours ago, U.S. death toll climbs to 11 as California reports first fatality related to coronavirus. U.S. election, Super Tuesday, Biden leads Sanders in projected primary victories. Now, do you guys think that Biden will have an edge over any other of the Democrats just because of his experience as a vice president? How often do vice presidents get elected? Do vice presidents really go out for the position that often? Go out for the position. What is it? Go out for the presidency that often? I am terrible at remembering US presidents and what everybody did, so you guys let me know. Mike Bloomberg drops out of the Democratic presidential race. I didn't know that. Oh, that happened this morning, it seems. I'm Mike Bloomberg and I approve this message. I was seeing so much of that on my ads. I was seeing all kinds of crazy ads on YouTube every time I would try to watch a video. One Texas voter had to wait nearly 7 hours to cast his ballot on Super Tuesday. She. How bad could the coronavirus outbreak get? Yes, coronavirus is a big concern, but some experts continue to say the true death rate may be far lower than 2%. Than the 2% figure floating around. Lots of people who have been mild illness aren't being counted. Something that confuses me about statistics is when you pull a percentage like that and you present it, are you using that percentage to represent the people currently affected and battling the symptoms and the disease, or the entire world population, which is hard to keep track of given that maybe every second and every minute there's a birth and a death. So I don't know. 2% figure floating around. I want to say that's gotta be the global population, but maybe not, because I feel like it would be higher if they were limited to just the victims. You guys let me know. You guys are so much better than me at interpreting info. Let's see. The news say wash your hands whenever you go, and the Bible is still the same. And do anybody remember the virus in Africa years ago? Most people died. The virus has stopped, thank God. Yeah, I think it's the Ebola virus that you're thinking about. The King James is a good version, but it's also based on older research and scholarship. The Dead Sea Scrolls shed light on the Bible translations and were discovered in the 1940s. LBJ, George Bush Sr., Lyndon B. Johnson. Oh, I do remember that actually. And quite a few more. Yes, Dad. Okay, cool. It's crazy when you're out of school for so long, stuff that you just knew about, which to me, I feel like when I was in school, I learned a lot about nothing. Like I was on top of that kind of info, and now thinking back, it's like, oh, the fuck? I learned that? Huh? How did I get an A? Now I feel so brain dead with all this stuff. Uh, let's see. Oh yeah, those crazy tornadoes in the Nashville area. I actually have two friends dash colleagues who moved out there because they got promoted, and they don't live in Nashville, but one of them works in downtown Nashville, and the other person is like 20 minutes away. And yeah, one of them saw this mug tearing through things on his way to work. So that was crazy. You're just chilling, driving down the highway, and you see all these sparks and clouds moving in a twisted way. Yeah, no, just fuck. Fuck. I was asleep for sure that day or that morning. And that's the crazy part. This happened at 3 a.m. for them, I think. Maybe 4 a.m., but something like that. Let's see. Nothing really else jumping out at me. Yeah, nah. Nothing but virus, 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 virus. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to stay on top of this stuff. But yeah. The music industry reacts to the coronavirus. Oh, yeah, I read about that. Tons upon tons upon tons of concerts being cancelled. Which, I mean, it's the responsible thing to do. Thousands of people gather at concerts, and definitely one of the recommendations has been to stay away from crowds. And that's also the danger about going into panic mode and going to like the grocery store and congregating there and buying everything up, because a lot of people are going to be gathered right there. So that takes away any chance of keeping this thing in a confined spot as much as possible. Green Day postponed the tour. I don't really remember what they sound like. I haven't listened to anything by them in like 5, 6 years. I know they have good stuff though. Lady Gaga. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about music being affected like that. I've never been to a concert. Let's see. I think it's 2% of the infected. 2% of the population would be in the millions. That's true. That's true. I'm so glad you put it like that. I cannot believe that it takes me so long to figure that out. But you're right, because we have billions of people on the planet. So a really, really small percentage is still big. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thanks for presenting it like that, because especially now that it's past midnight for me, I would just not think right. Let's see. Never. Yeah, never. Never been to a concert. At the same time, I'm not really trying too hard to be going to concerts because I am someone who's not particularly fond of loud noises. And sure, I guess I could wear those earplugs, muffs, whatever they're called, but I don't want to. I also hate people. Why would I go to a place where that's exactly what I'm going to see? Reams of people. And I just enjoy music in a more laid back, relaxed setting. But what is the concert setting like? Do you have to stand or do you actually have chairs? Do you actually have seats in concerts? I always feel like when I see videos, everybody's on their feet, which of course you want to be jamming out and rocking out to it. But is there even a division between you and the person next to you? Like, is there a tile? Is there a step? Is there a chair? Like, how do you. Is that just a sea of people on a floor? How do you find your seat? I feel like if people are standing, there isn't really something in between them except floor space. But then again, I don't see people just meandering around, you know? I don't know. Yes, people have different blood. It depends. Your body is strong or not. Yeah, that too. Genetics do give an advantage to certain people over others, over certain things. That's true. La, 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 la. When I read about James Lipton, I thought about the tea, Lipton tea, that comes in the little yellow box. You guys know what I'm talking about? So I thought that maybe the guy who put that together was the one who had passed, but no, it's a longtime host of Inside the Actor Studio, has died at 93. No, nothing else standing out here. Concerts are hype. I only go to concert just the ones I like. Just R&B, but people eat in concerts nowadays. No, come on, no, music don't make people eat. Oh, I never thought about that. I would have never guessed that there's food at concerts. I always assumed that it might be like the movie theater where you might need to bring your own stuff and maybe sneak it in or something. But, that's crazy. I've never seen someone eating on the videos of concerts that I've seen. Then again, it's kind of hard to look. The audience usually looks dark, you know? That's crazy. I know for a fact that I would bring with me my almighty water bottle. I just cannot go anywhere without a water bottle. Yes, food mania at concerts. What kind of food do they have? Typical American shit? Burgers, fries, pizza, soda, donuts, cookies, bagels. Do they have biscuits? If they have biscuits, I'm going over there to try them because I'm fat. Let's see, what else? I imagine they also serve alcoholic beverages, right? I would really hope that those are banned. How would you monitor how much someone has had to drink? And on top of that, when some people have too much to drink, just bad shit happens, you know? Pizza, burgers, ribs, nachos, and soul food. Ribs. You know, I don't like ribs like that. I feel like the whole point of them is to be bony, but I have to do some intensive flossing afterward. It's like, what am I doing with my life? When did I turn into a dog who likes to play with a bone? You know, so I don't do ribs. I only ate them once in my life, and I said never. And when this girl says never to something, it is fucking never. Fucking never. Oh my goodness. You know what I've thought about? If I had the resources on me to start a restaurant, I have always dreamed of an all you can eat taco buffet. Give me tacos, give me burritos, give me, just put the flour tortilla, put the corn shells, put the chips, have like a tray of ground beef, a tray of chicken, a tray of molten cheese, and another side with like salady stuff, like the lettuce. Absolutely no iceberg lettuce at my restaurant ever, but just a buffet of Mexican food would be amazing. Because sometimes I think about going to a place and have a lot of tacos, but there's nowhere I can go to that has this. And sure, you could go to some buffets that have all kinds of food and maybe find a section that modestly has some of these ingredients, but I would like a restaurant that focuses on this shit, you know? So I think that would make a lot of money. I think that would be a really good business. Because that way, people would be more inclined to build their own thing and just try different things. Usually, when I go to restaurants, I tend to stick to the same menu item. If I discover one menu item on my first try that I really, really liked, I stick to that for years. And then later on, someone may let me try something, and I'm like, holy shit, I've been missing out. How long has this been on the menu? How did I not see that? It's been there the whole time, Sam. Oh, I just enjoy the idea of being able to sample a lot of things. I like to have options as opposed to being limited to just one little thing, you know? But yeah, give me an all you can eat buffet of tacos. Wow, tacos. Yes, and have the beans, have the sour cream, have cheese, have corn, have. I'm not a pork eater, but I'm not going to discriminate against people. So I would have a section for pork, and then maybe on this another side of the restaurant, I may have a more meatless variety. Just for those people who don't like to mess with meats at all, but they want some kind of protein. And also, let's have some grilled veggies, like just grilled veggies, roasted veggies, whatever it is that they have at Chipotle. But yeah, that would be nice. And then, of course, have a salad bar that's relatively basic, but yeah, I think that would be amazing. I can just imagine me receiving that truck that brings all of my supplies. Just seeing that shipment arrive and that truck just opens its vertical gate and I go up that ramp and I smell all that flour and corn and gluten and stuff that I shouldn't have. And ooh, I would also have gluten-free wraps available upon request, and perhaps give a little bit of a that would necessitate a little bit of an upgrade fee, because coming upon that mess is expensive. Like every time I go to grocery stores and I look up the gluten free options, they're usually made of like cassava or chickpea or what the hell have I seen? Almond flour, stuff like that. This will be a facility that comes into contact with just about everything, so I would not be able to claim that I'm gluten free or nut free or whatever. But at least people would have the option of upgrading to these items, and I would just keep them separate, like in their original container, and maybe charge like 5 cents for every flowery thing or non-flowery thing that you get. I don't know. I don't own the business, okay? This is a concept. This is just me rambling as I dream about it. But I bet you someone out there has done this already, and they're probably living like royalty. Pizza, burgers, I read that already. They sell drinks, most beer is the highest price ever, water is crazy price too, and yes, ribs are so good. You know what's fucking infuriating? When I go to the movie theater, and let's say that for some reason, for some ungodly reason, I forgot my water bottle, my personal water bottle. I attempt to buy a water at the movie theater, and you know how much they charge me? $4.50 for something that is the name brand of the movie theater. And the bottle is maybe a quarter of the size of what I pay 50 cents for. That is so appalling. I only made that mistake once in my life, back in 2014. After that, I never did it again. I said, I will dry up and turn into sand in this theater, but I am not spending $4 fucking 50 cents on a water bottle. That is absolutely just, you're going to hell for that. I'm just going to say it. Charging people like that. It's insane. And then the candies are ridiculously overpriced. Just fuck you, movie theater. Just fuck you. Your movies are overpriced as well. Let's see. Pizza, carne asada. At the movies, they are the worst prices ever, and that's crazy. $4 for a water. I do not buy anything in the movies, but eat after the movie. I tend to eat before the movie. Usually it's pizza. Somehow it always lines up with pizza. But of course, it makes sense. Pizza is fun and filling and satisfying and delicious, and it has cheese, lots and lots of cheese, just globs of cheese that slide out the corner of my mouth. Ugh. But yeah, I would not trust pizza from a movie theater. Not that I've seen a movie theater that sells pizza yet. Maybe, come to think of it, I think the new one that recently got remodeled. Well, if it's remodeled, it's not new. That's what I'm trying to say. It got remodeled. I think they upgraded their kitchen to where they have that now. But until then, all I kept seeing at the movie theater were hot dogs, nachos, and of course the popcorny. Cannot forget about the popcorny. And I like popcorn. Like movie theater popcorn is something extraordinary, but I think that I just cannot mess with it with frequency. I feel like it messes up my stomach, probably from all the shitty ingredients it's gotta have, right? And I just got old and my body just sucks, so I cannot process junk food like I used to. And I know that it's only gonna get worse from here. I'm aware. December, you're funny. Movies and the Best Buy are the greatest prices ever. Popcorn is the best on the movies, but when I buy popcorn, no change back. What I, you know, this is probably gonna sound weird and trippy, but When I'm at the movie theater, sometimes I enjoy smelling the popcorn more than eating it. But maybe sometimes I walk into the theater and I anticipate the popcorn. So when I smell it, that's when I'm like, I'm enjoying this just as much as eating it. But you never forget movie theater popcorn smells. It's just amazing. But I promise you that there have been times in which I'm like, oh, this smells so good. I'm gonna get the fucking $20 bucket, right? But then I'm like,